Now, after Monday Night Football and streaming on CrossroadsToday.com, Victoria officials investigate a fire at a storage unit on Highway 87.
Plus, 5 people are accused of taking part in a teacher certification cheating scheme that allowed unqualified teachers to work in local school districts.
And Governor Greg Abbott orders Texas hospitals to track migrant patient costs.
We have an increasing chance for rain showers. We had a couple of little bitty ones earlier today along the coast. Tomorrow we have a little bit better chance, and even a better chance later this week. We'll be talking about that coming up in just a few minutes.
And the Yoakum Bulldogs, they battle Hitchcock in a Week 10 matchup here. That's coming up in sports.
You're watching 25 News Now after Monday Night Football. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Don Brubaker.
And I'm Shauna Curry. State Highway 95 is closed between Moulton and Shiner because of a multi-vehicle crash. Emergency crews from Moulton, Shiner, Lavaca County and Texas DPS are on the scene right now at State Highway 95 and FM 340. Officials say 2 medical helicopters have been called in. Drivers can expect the road to be closed for at least an hour or two. Drivers are asked to take an alternate route between Moulton and Shiner. A woman was ticketed after a 2-vehicle crash at Navarro and Salem Road. Police say the driver of a white SUV had a green light and was turning left onto Navarro when the driver of a silver sedan ran a red light, causing the crash. 1 person was taken to the hospital for minor injuries. Victoria fire officials are investigating the cause of a boat fire. It happened at a storage facility on Highway 87 at Kingwood Forest Drive. A motorist driving on Highway 87 reported smoke coming from the storage facility. Victoria Fire Captain Andrew Goss says even though there was a lot of smoke, the fire was contained inside a small area.
When we arrived, there's heavy smoke. We got all the doors popped. Turned out to be a fire in just one of the units. It was a boat that was on fire. We got it pulled out of the unit, put out, and everything's good now. No injuries, no real damage.
The cause of that fire is being investigated.
A Victoria man faces 2 aggravated assault with a deadly weapon charges. Victoria police arrested 27-year-old Jacob Galliana on 5 charges total. He's in the Victoria County Jail in lieu of $62,000 bond. An El Campo man faces a charge of unlawful carry of a weapon with a felony conviction. El Campo police arrested 49-year-old Edwin Gordon on 3 charges. He is in the Wharton County Jail in lieu of $52,000 bond.
The dry, warm stretch in Texas is really starting to hit hard. As of October 22nd, about 2/3 of the state is officially in drought, with nearly a quarter more facing unusually dry conditions that could soon turn into drought if we don't get more rain soon. For the past month, the drought has been expanding week after week. Since late September, the drought-affected area has actually doubled, marking the largest impact that we've seen since October of last year. Here in the Crossroads, counties are also feeling the strain, seeing 2 classes of worsening drought conditions over just the past month. Central and East Texas have been hit especially hard, with many areas there slipping 2 levels deeper into drought as well.
So we need rain.
Yes.
And let's take a first look at your forecast with First Orange Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Mac Pettis. Mac, when is that rain coming?
Well, we had a little bit today. We're going to get a little bit more tomorrow, and the last half of this week may have the most of it. As you can see, we had basically little showers that came in off the Gulf of Mexico. But up north, right here in Colorado, there's a cold front coming in. That cold front will be dropping down into the state and giving us a pretty good chance of rain, including for Halloween. We'll be talking about that coming up a little bit later on. Back to you.
Mac, thank you. Family members of the 2-year-old daughter of East Texas death row inmate Robert Roberson sent a letter to the Texas House Committee that stopped Roberson's execution. The family of Nikki Curtis says they're convinced he's guilty of her murder. Roberson was set to be executed last Thursday after he was convicted in the death. The Texas Tribune reports State Representative Jeff Leach, a Republican, texted a Texas Court of Criminal Appeals judge last week that Roberson deserves a new trial. That's an apparent state violation. This Friday, Texas hospitals will be required to collect information regarding patients who are not legally in the country. The executive order signed by Governor Greg Abbott is an effort to collect data on the costs of caring for undocumented patients. The Texas Tribune reports while 1.6 million migrants live in Texas, they go to the hospital at lower rates than U.S. citizens and make up a minority of the uninsured cost burden on state hospitals. This order applies only to hospitals enrolled in Medicaid or the Children's Health Insurance Program.
2 people are dead after a house explosion in rural North Texas. There was nothing left of the home this morning in the small town of Van Aston, about 50 miles north of Dallas. Due to a lack of fire hydrants, water was shuttled by multiple departments to a drop tank at the scene. About 2/3 of the house was totally leveled. The 2 homeowners, who were in their 60s, died, and officials are investigating if a possible propane leak was the cause of the explosion.
5 people, including 3 Houston ISD employees, were arrested for engaging in organized crime. The reported scheme involved falsifying credentials for unqualified teachers to work in local school districts. Prosecutors say Booker T. Washington High School Assistant Principal Nicholas Newton took more than 400 certification tests. He fraudulently impersonated at least 200 teachers. Investigators say it was all orchestrated by Washington High School head basketball coach Vincent Grayson, who reportedly made over $1 million from the scheme.
Texas is clawing back more than $607 million per year in federal funding for special education services, a move local school district officials say will likely worsen already strained budgets for students with disabilities. To read the full Texas Tribune article on this, visit our website, crossroadstoday.com. Cuero police are reminding residents of the consequences of stealing political signs. The Cuero PD posted details on their Facebook surrounding stolen political signs. There are reports of the same happening in Victoria. Cuero police say stealing signs is a crime, and authorities will prosecute anyone charged with the crime. The charges may also include criminal trespass for entering private residence or property. The Cuero PD is asking anyone with information to call them with that information.
This year's early voting turnout in Victoria County broke the record for a single day last week, 3 times in a row. The record was broken again today. 2,198 people voted in person Monday, 15,328 in-person votes so far. 87 mail-in votes were received Monday, 2,046 mail-in votes received so far. Total votes cast, over 17,000. That's 30% of Victoria County registered voters, or almost half the number of registered voters in Victoria County who cast their ballots in the 2020 presidential election.
Yeah, definitely a good turnout so far. Well, with Election Day next Tuesday, voters in our area are keeping an eye on several key races. 25
News Now reporter Trenton Whiting joins us with a breakdown. Trenton?
Shauna, Don, thanks. And some historic turnout for the election. And obviously the presidential election between Vice President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump is getting a lot of those voters to the polls. Presidential races usually bring more voters out, but this election has truly piqued public interest. Another hot race, the Senate race between Republican incumbent Ted Cruz and Democrat Colin Allred. Both candidates have experience on Capitol Hill. We've also got several important elections close to home too. The U.S. House of Representatives District 27 between Republican incumbent Michael Cloud and Democrat Tanya Lloyd. Also with former Republican Jackson County Sheriff A.J. Louderback and Democrat Stephanie Bassam face off in District 30. We've got some elections going on with our schools as well, as several districts in our area have voter approval tax rate elections and one bond election. The Industrial ISD, Yoakum ISD, and the Victoria ISD all have VATRE elections. The Hallettsville ISD has a bond election for new athletic facilities. 2 more items on the ballot include the District 43 state representative race with Republican J.M. Lozano facing Democrat Mariana Casares, and the District 17 state Senate race with Republican state Senator incumbent Joan Huffman against Democrat Kathy Cheng. We'll be following all of these races and more on next Tuesday, Election Day. Shauna, Don, back to you.
All right, thanks a lot, Trenton. Well, the polls are open for early voting this week in Victoria County from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Voting is at the Dr. Patty Dodson Public Health Center at 2805 North Navarro Street, Classroom A. Early voting goes through this Friday, November 1st, and of course, Election Day is next Tuesday, November 5th. And the polls show the presidential candidates remain locked in a tight race as the presidential election cycle enters its last full week. Americans are turning out to vote early, including President Joe Biden today.
The candidates are making last-ditch appeals to voters, and all this as some apparently try to impede the voting process.
With just 8 days until Election Day 2024, the race is starting to reach a fever pitch. 2 ballot boxes in the Pacific Northwest were set ablaze early Monday morning, one at a bus station in Vancouver, Washington, and just 15 miles away in Portland, Oregon.
Our officers quickly determined that there was an incendiary device that had been attached to the ballot box, and that is what ignited this fire.
And the candidates are setting the campaign trails ablaze in their own ways. Kamala Harris with star power.
I'm not here as a celebrity. I'm not here as a politician. I'm here as a mother.
And former President Trump appearing with his wife, Melania.
This town has produced America's most fearless leaders.
The former president hosted a massive event at New York's Madison Square Garden Sunday night, but it was a comment from his invited guest, comedian Tony Hinchcliffe, that has gotten backlash from the Latino voters that Trump has been trying to appeal to.
There's literally a floating island of garbage. I think it's called Puerto Rico.
Trump also had some sharp language, speaking on illegal immigration.
And we will put these vicious and bloodthirsty criminals in jail. We're going to kick them the hell out of our country as fast as possible.
President Joe Biden, likely the most prominent among America's early voters, fulfilling his civic duty in Newcastle, Delaware. I'm Sherelle Hubbard reporting.
As Election Day nears, safety at the polling locations is a growing concern for many voters across the country. So we wanted to know, are you concerned about safety at any of the polling locations? Yes or no? 79% of you say that you are not concerned about any sort of safety issues. So we appreciate everyone who participated tonight. And if you haven't voted, you can still go to crossroadstoday.com/vote to take part.
And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Crossroads Today. Hit the like button and click the notification bell. Then you can see Crossroads Today on YouTube. And stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now, after Monday Night Football, why U.S. airlines are now required to offer cash refunds.
Plus, the USDA says beef is probably not the source of the E. coli outbreak linked with McDonald's Quarter Pounder.
Well, good evening, everybody. Things are going to be changing finally after all that hot, dry weather we had. You know, we went through the entire month of October, did not have a drop of rain. Now that it's the last week of October and that we got Halloween, the rain is showing up. Isn't that interesting? We had a few little bitty light showers coming in off the Gulf, as you can see right about there. None of this was significant. I don't believe it reached Victoria County at all, but it looks like Matagorda got a few little rain showers there blowing through during the afternoon hours. We obviously continue in a moderate drought. Now here's the scale. We go from obviously abnormally dry to moderately dry to severe dry to extreme drought. Okay, so we're in that second level. You can see it right about here. We're a moderate drought. Now to the north of us, and that's very interesting to me because that's the Colorado River watershed, and so it's not getting much rain at all, and neither is out toward the western areas west of San Antonio, because as you may have heard, Lake Medina is like, you can see the bottom. It's almost bone dry. So that we get a little rain in the next couple of days is good, but I don't think it's going to be really a drought buster. We're going to get light showers, maybe a quarter to a half an inch of rain over the next few days. Now, the winds are going to be interesting. They're going to start picking up and getting a little bit stronger because to the north of us, we've got a fairly significant weather system moving in. Now, as I mentioned last week, I started looking to the northwest because the big, strong cold fronts come through here. This one has got a low up here, a front through Colorado, and then a front all the way down Arizona. This one is going to be rolling into Texas by Wednesday for sure, getting very close to our area before it slows down. And then it backs up. But the point is, when it gets to our area, it will be triggering off shower activity. And what day is that? That would be Thursday, and that would be Halloween. If you have an outdoor party planned or a carnival school event or whatever, just consider that it looks like, I believe, it's going to be raining on that day. Now, here's the rain forecast. Notice how the first couple of days the rain comes up from the south, the little shower activity. Looks like a heavier stuff. And then you saw that next line, okay? That's the line comes in with the front, but all things considered, from here to Wednesday, we only see maybe a quarter to a half an inch of rain. So it's not a big downpour. Nonetheless, a little bit of wetness coming in for the balance of this week. Now, while we're right now in the 70s, you can see the warm sector of the storm right here. Perfect. It's this classic meteorology here. Warm sector here, low pressure here, colder air dropping. Look at that. Temperatures in the 40s, even in the 30s up in Montana, because this has been a snowmaker up there. And that cooler, somewhat cooler air is going to be getting into North Texas. We're not going to get the cool air, but we will get some of that rain shower. Now, the system that we talked about last week is still potentially developing, but the good news as of tonight is that if it were to develop, it would go northeast, so it'll affect the Caribbean islands and not be a hurricane headed for Florida, which is something they didn't need. Anyway, tomorrow partly cloudy with a high of 85, a little gustier winds tomorrow with an 87 in Cuero. Your 7-day forecast will show you that every day we've got a chance for some shower activity. Something went wrong with my map. Okay, wrong map. All righty. Well, let me put it to you this way. We are looking for showers to be on the increase for the next couple of days, and we will be looking for rain activity probably Thursday. So tune in with us on Wednesday, and we'll give you the latest information possible. All right, so we do have a QR code. We'd love for you to scan that. Put Crossroads Today, and I'm going to go fix that thing right now. That is it from the weather front. We'll toss it over to Maxwell with sports.
All right, thanks, Matt. Both men's and women's soccer teams for UHV, they're trying to qualify for the playoffs. I'll tell you more in sports. We are just 2 weeks away here from playoff football here in the Crossroads. Some teams are looking to get better seeds, and some teams are trying to fight for home field advantage, and some teams are trying to look to get into the playoffs. And one of these games that has huge playoff implications is between the Hitchcock Bulldogs and the Yoakum Bulldogs. And for Hitchcock, they are 3-0 in district play, and they won in a high-scoring affair last week between the Columbus Cardinals, and that play went down to the last play and almost went to overtime possibly for both of those teams. And then for Yoakum, they need to win this game in order to stay in playoff contention. Again, they're in 3A Division I. Yoakum, they're coming off their bye week, and they're hoping to get, again, the big connection back between Trey Cuellar and Xavier Barnett. And again, they're going to have to stop a top offense in Hitchcock. They're led by quarterback Lloyd Jones III, and they got a high-powered offense and a great running game as well. In this game, it's going to be a lot of points scored here this coming up Friday night. So now, going to our viewer poll here, I wanted to change it up a little bit. I talked about a little bit about high school for our viewer poll. We're going to NFL, and here's a viewer poll I asked here for everyone today. Who was your favorite NFL player from the state of Texas? And here were the options: running back Earl Campbell, quarterback Drew Brees, quarterback Patrick Mahomes, running back Mean Joe Green, you got defensive lineman Michael Strahan, or who others you would choose. And it looked like it was around Earl Campbell and other, and it looks like it's going to stay the same there for both. Earl Campbell, one of the top running backs there, as we all know from the NFL. And then a couple of names people had with the other. I had someone talk about Bailey Zappi from Victoria. Victoria East, Roddy played for the Patriots. And you got a lot of other names too. But again, props up to everyone there that tried to vote there and try to change it up there for our viewer poll. And then speaking of changing things up, the AP poll was changed up a little bit this week with a couple new changes here in the top 10. Oregon still stays at number 1, Georgia at number 2, Penn State at 3, Ohio State there is at number 4. And then team that jumped up here a couple spots, they're at number 8. You see Notre Dame is now up there at number 8 spot after they were number 12. And Texas A&M, after a big win there, yes, on Saturday versus LSU, they're now at number 10 spot there. So Texas did drop one spot, though, there at number 6 there, as Miami is now at number 5. So we'll see. Ohio State, Penn State, big game there coming up here in this week. And we got a couple other good ones. See if anything changes going into week 10. And now over to some soccer. UHV men's and women's soccer teams, they had their senior day this past Saturday versus North American. Both teams won. The women's team won 5-0 and the men's team won 4-1. And also in last week's game, grad Kylie Spree-Kolos had a hat trick in the game. Also broke the record for the women's soccer single season goals, which was first set there by Shalea Kopo and then also Emily Lopton. And so Colo said she feels very honored that she had to do this and happy that her family was there and showed up to witness it as well. And the women's team, here's the possible situations for both teams coming to playoff-wise or hosting games. So the women's team can host a quarterfinal game if they win both games and Texas A&M Texarkana and LSU Alexandria lose or tie both of their games. And now for the men's team, it's a little bit more simpler. They get to just clinch a playoff berth if they can win this week here on Thursday versus Our Lady of the Lake. So wish good luck there for both teams. And then finally tonight, a good little sports story. We had two former Victoria East tight ends and wide receiver there, Bryson Ortega and safety Joe Anthony Soto. They played against each other here this past weekend. Ortega, he played there for East Texas Baptist University in the light blue uniforms. And then again, for the other one, Soto plays for Hardin-Simmons University. So both Soto and Ortega used to play together back there in middle school and played high school there at Victoria East before they went the different ways in different schools. And the final score of this game would be Hardin-Simmons winning 38-22, but for both players, they just wanted to see each other again and be happy that happened. So that's a good little story right there, Don and Shannon, and props up to see both of them again, just seeing each other again after they played with each other so long from the middle school ranks and the high school ranks.
Yeah, I've been watching them since they were probably elementary school, and pretty neat to, see them actually play against each other instead of on the same team. So
I hope it's inspirational to the current Titans. If you work hard enough like those young people, you get a shot to play college football. Look at it that way.
Yeah, for
All
sure.
right, stay with us. Coming up on 25 News Now at 10. We'll take a last look at your weather. Plus, a squirrel is predicting who will be the presidential election winner. This process is a little nutty.
Hundreds of pumpkin enthusiasts flocked to northern Belgium for the annual chance to paddle giant hollowed-out pumpkins across a pond. This quirky race kicked off in 2008 when local growers, looking for a fresh way to use their 880-pound pumpkins, they turned to the water, and after they'd already tried making soup out of it, they thought of this. So, yeah, I guess so. The challenge is to be the first four-person team to cross the finish line in your pumpkin boat. The local Pumpkin Society and their kayak club each year make this happen, and they also host a pumpkin contest. This year's winning entry was a European champ, tipped the scales at a whopping 2,057.36 pounds.
Wow, that's...
Well, a furry forecaster in South Carolina is making his prediction for President of the United States. This squirrel hails from North Charleston. He has a keen eye on the election. His owner placed 10 nuts in 2 separate bowls, one labeled for Vice President Harris, the other for former President Donald Trump. The winner determined by the number of nuts he eats. After about 30 minutes of snacking, the squirrel had gobbled up 7 nuts from the Harris bowl and 3 from the Trump bowl, making Harris his official prediction. Let me tell you something, Max. If we don't get rain pretty soon, people are going to go nuts.
Well, the good news, I'm afraid they're going to go nuts because it rains on Halloween.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my biggest concern. If you do have an outdoor festival or some sort of school party or that kind of stuff, just consider that we've got a pretty good 50-50 chance of getting some shower activity here on Halloween. Don't blame me, blame the goblins, okay?
At least it's warm rain, not so chilly. But well, London hosts a giant interactive multiplayer Tetris game to celebrate its 40th anniversary. Take a look at this. The event was one of the biggest multiplayer Tetris games to ever take place, according to organizers. The games were open to the public for free. Participants scanned a QR code and downloaded an app to take part. 7 players at a time controlled their individually colored pieces as they fell from the screens to compete with the other players in the space. So, yeah, pretty cool. Well, it's Halloween, and 25 News Now wants to find out who's got the spookiest costumes this year or the cutest. Head to crossroadstoday.com to vote for your favorite until October 30th, and then we'll showcase the picture with the most votes on 25 News Now on Halloween night. So don't let the rain.
How do we vote? We have to go to the website to vote?
Crossroadstoday.com.
Okay.
All right.
That's where you go.
Keep that in mind.
Well, thanks for joining us tonight, staying up after the game.
25 News Now, sunrise starting at 5 a.m. Good night.